Now, to my Chris Farley connection, I have a really strong one. Okay, so get this. So a couple years ago, I was playing with my kids at a park that's like 4 blocks from our house, and there's this woman there with a couple really little kids, and she just kind of like comes up to me and asks me how I'm doing, and just like having a conversation with me, and she just like kind of drops in that she's Chris Farley's sister.
No
And I'm
way.
like, whoa, that is really cool. That is really amazing. And it turns out she's like a mainstay in our neighborhood and like does nannying for a lot of families with little kids in the hood. And she's now like nannying for this couple that, or for this family that lives right around the block from us, and we're really close with them. So like I get to see her all the time. We chat all the time. We're Facebook friends, so I'm seeing like, messages that Barb Farley is posting on Facebook all the time. It's really cool. But they are a Madison, like totally Madison community. I think their family like dates back, super long in Madison. The cross street next to our street is Farley Street, so yes,
Wow.
a lot of Chris Farley connections over here for
So
sure.
here's the real question to follow that up with.
Mm,
Is she a member of a credit union? Please tell me. You've had too many opportunities.
you're right.
She
You're right.
needs to be a member of a credit union.
The next time I see her, I will ask her that.
All right, I'm
Yeah,
quoting
I
you
need
on
to ask her.
record.
Yeah, yeah, and I
And
and
if not, have
I
one in your back pocket, a membership application, like Flow from Progressive. Like you'll just be right there.
Well, I am very pleased to introduce Taylor Murray, President and CEO of ServiStar Consulting, to the Credit Union Nation podcast. I'm Tom Sakash, the host of the podcast. Taylor, thanks so much for joining. How you doing?
Oh, my man, my pleasure. I'm really excited for today. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Me too. So, this is kind of a unique podcast, or a unique episode, I should say. And this is episode 15. And it's unique because you and I kind of don't know each other that well. Most of the folks that I've interviewed so far are like people that I've known in the industry for some time. But your name came up as a potential sort of guest for this podcast when Scott Butterfield, the founder of Y Cup, the company that I work for, saw you speaking at an event, the America's Credit Union Small Credit Union event in Spokane, Washington. And so I wanted to, obviously when Scott says, you got to meet somebody, I jump and say, okay, let's meet this person. But like, what were you talking about at the conference that sparked his interest? I'd love to hear about it.
Of course. Well, it's funny because Scott and I have known each other, like, I would almost say from a distance, but never met in person. I think North Carolina, we met last year. And it
Hmm.
was like, like when you have a little piece of paper you want autographed, that's what I wanted from like Scott. He's one of those legends that you get to know through articles and stories and from examples that others have shared. And when I got a chance to see him and meet him in person, it's like, I like this guy. I like
Yeah.
what he's doing. So
Yeah.
I went in at the conference in Spokane. I was talking about our credit union PhD program, which is around the philosophy, history, and development of credit unions. And it's an engaging workshop. There's really solving a problem where a lot of us we know enough about the credit union movement to keep our jobs, but not enough to really be super passionate about it. And
Mm.
we've been around really since just the early 1900s, and a lot of heavy lifting took place in the first part of the century, and just kind of fun when you unpack that early history in a fun way. And that's
Hmm.
that workshop.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, what are some of the things that you get into? So I'm a DE. I don't know if you are as well. But like in DE, you do learn about the history, you get the book and you kind of read about all the pioneers and all that stuff. And so like it's been boy, 7 years, 8 years since I went through the program. And back at CUNA, I don't know if you know this, but the offices, all the conference rooms at the National Trade Association, they're named after a lot of the pioneers. So like you're kind of reminded about them a lot. But like I wouldn't say that I'm an expert on credit union history for by any means. So like what are some of the things that you cover during that session? Like what are some of the fun facts?
Oh, believe it or not, there are quite a few fun facts, and I am officially a DE as of June 2025, best class ever.
Oh,
Right. Trust the
congratulations.
process. Here we go. Rock and
That's great.
roll. Yeah, it was one of those programs. I'll just segue to DE just for a moment because also been told, you got to do this. It's awesome. Like, yeah, I never prioritized it. Toby and I had talked quite a bit. It took me 2, 3 years to finally get through their heavy wait list, but made it. And I officially took part in June. So it was interesting to hear some of the conversations around the different challenges that we have and just from a different lens. But one of the reasons that that workshop was ultimately created was I think there's a lot of boring stuff out there about the
Mhm.
history of the credit unions. No
Mm.
offense to those who have made it, but you can Google credit union history pretty quickly and get a really cheesy or boring, almost fall asleep video. Really good information, but we have got a lot of young people that have no idea what a credit union is. They didn't come to the credit union to improve the financial lives of members. They were a barista last week. And they came here because they don't have to work Sundays anymore. And maybe they got benefits. And like, how do we get someone to care and feel? You don't. So, how do we really excite someone early in that part of their career where they can get excited about this credit union movement? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'll
Okay.
geek out about that all day. And so, maybe to answer your real question, some fun facts. Wow. Off the top of my head. All right. Here, did you know we are all just 1 degree away from Chris Farley? Because,
Really?
yeah, see, now you're from Madison. In
Yeah. Okay. I
Madison,
got some Chris Farley connections here, so let me hear what you've got, and then
all
I'm
right.
gonna bring some Chris Farley stuff at you.
So Midwestern boy too, right?
Yes.
And so I'm born and raised in the Midwest, and Chris Farley grew up in a house, which I'll give you the address offline. I don't want everyone rioting his house,
Yeah.
but there's a house on a lake, beautiful house that he grew up in.
Hmm.
It happened to be the house that Roy Bergegren also raised his family in. So Roy, if we all know Roy, early pioneer, like truly the muscle, like the biggest business development guru ever, legal mind, awesome, like get stuff done. Thanks for not
Yeah.
bleeping me there. But Roy was just this powerhouse early in like the 1920s and 30s, and just he brought the credit union movement from what 200 credit unions to
Mm.
1,100 in 4 years, and just like it was just building a robot, not being a robot, putting those policies and practices into place. So you and I, if we were to go build a house, we don't just start drawing blueprints. We go find a blueprint and then build the house with help. Well, that's really what Roy was trying to do with Ed's support of just how do we create the framework to make it easy for people who want to improve the financial lives of friends and peers in their communities? How do we make it easy? And
Mm.
many people may have a conference room named after him, or maybe they had an award for the Alphonse Desjardins Award.
Mhm.
They have no idea what in the world or who in the heck that person was. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's so cool. Well, first of all, I really like the way that you put that, and I always, think of and sort of explain credit unions the same way. Like you've got, so if you've got a bank, and we've all heard like, well, they've got investors, and you're just lining the pockets of wealthy benefactors. If that's who you use for your financial services, when it's a credit union, you're literally making investments in your neighbors, in your friends, in your family, by doing your banking with a credit union, a local credit union, especially. And I think that's just such a powerful illustration of how credit unions work and how they provide value as organizations. So I really like how you put that. Now, to my Chris Farley connection, I have a really strong one. Okay, so get this. So a couple years ago, I was playing with my kids at a park that's like 4 blocks from our house, and there's this woman there with a couple really little kids, and she just kind of like comes up to me and asks me how I'm doing, and just like having a conversation with me, and she just like kind of drops in that she's Chris Farley's sister.
no
And
way.
I'm like, whoa, that is really cool. That is really amazing. And it turns out she's like a mainstay in our neighborhood and like does nannying for a lot of families with little kids in the hood. And she's now like nannying for this couple or for this family that lives right around the block from us, and we're really close with them. So like I get to see her all the time. We chat all the time. We're Facebook friends, so I'm seeing like messages that Barb Farley is posting on Facebook all the time. It's really cool. But they are Madison, like totally Madison community. I think their family like dates back super long in Madison. The cross street next to our street is Farley Street, so yes,
Wow.
a lot of Chris Farley connections over here for
So
sure.
here's the real question to follow that up with.
Mm,
Is she a member of a credit union? Please tell me. You've had too many opportunities.
you're right.
She
You're right.
needs to be a member of a credit union.
The next time I see her, I will ask her that.
All right, I'm
Yeah,
quoting
I
you. It's
need
on
to ask her.
record.
Yeah, yeah, and I
And
and
if not, have
I
one in your back pocket, a membership application, like Flo from Progressive. Like you'll just be right there.
right for
Tommy on the
Madison
spot.
Credit Union, right?
There you
That
go.
I'm a board member for. Although that's East Side, she's kind of a West Sider for life. So, but yes, so that's so cool. And so cool that their childhood house was Roy Bergenkron's house. I wonder if she knows that too. I'll have to ask her if she knows the credit union history.
I was out so that house was available for sale a few years back on Redfin. I went in and kind of looked at pictures, total, you know, sleuth.
Yeah,
And
right.
but I almost, when I was out there for DE, I had it on my roadmap to go over there and see if I can like knock on their door and see if I can get a picture inside. Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
much of a credit union fan I am. I didn't do it, but because of DE, you're packed. You got
that's
like
right. Oh
7
yeah.
a.m. to like 8 p.m. Like boom, boom. It's a packed week. There's no free time for that stuff. But
Totally. Yeah. And I know that because I think they've like shortened it. Like when I went through it, it was 7 days, and I think it's five
oh
now,
wow,
right?
yeah, it's 5.
So there's even less time to get out and see Madison, which is a shame because especially in the summertime, it's such a beautiful city to kind of explore. Um, so how did you become so knowledgeable about, the history of credit unions and like what sparked that interest? Like why did you become like this credit union historian, person? Why did you want to learn so much about credit unions?
I guess see a gap, find a gap, fill a gap, and all of that.
Mhm.
Um, I hated history growing up. Liked some of the Revolutionary War and Civil War stuff, but I wouldn't say I'm a history buff by any stretch. So maybe even to go back, I started off like many credit union people, right out of high school, took a summer job, while waiting to find a real job. And then 17 years later, I was still there, right? So I was at Baxter Credit Union throughout my entire career, early part of my career, spent just as much time there as I didn't. And so kind of split my life at that point. Then moved up to Minneapolis, spent some time up in the cities up there at Affinity Plus Credit
Mhm.
Union. And so born and raised Midwest. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, came here to Florida. So I'm in Gainesville, Florida, and worked for a credit union down here, Radiant Credit Union for a bit, and then I've been at ServiStar for the last 4.5, 5 years, and I get to do everything that I did at credit unions, but now get to help other credit unions do it. And that's not a segue, but I think it brings it back to the question around why did I get into the history? I think a lot of it was you don't know what you don't know. And there were little factoids along the way where I think a lot of it came down to even like the Umbrella Man. Like, that's a cool logo. Or you start to hear things from other credit union historians, and then you dig. And yeah, I found some incredible books. And when I'm sitting on an airplane and I'm like going through a book and writing notes, and people are sitting next to me, I'm like, Stop. I don't want to talk. I'm writing and reading this book." So it just kind of fell upon me. And because when you'd share a fun story about it, and in a movement where several thousand people have the opportunity to improve the lives of people every day,
Mm,
and you tell them and you drop a fact bomb on them, and they're like, "No way, I didn't know that." Like, I've got a kind of I'll share this with you so you can put it in the show notes, but there's a simple website you can go to, put in your credit union name, and you can see all of the different, I'll call it transactions for all intents and purposes, but different name changes and merger partners throughout the years. And so there's people that I've talked to that have been at their credit union for 20 years.
mm,
Within 15 minutes of talking to them, I'm telling them and sharing some insights about the history of their credit union that they didn't even know about. And
yeah.
it's just, I think it's rewarding when you start relating things back to someone as a person. We do it every day by talking to our members about ways we can help them. I mean, we've many employees out there of credit unions can have an experience or a story where an incredibly affluent member comes in, but they don't know how to manage their money at all. But you would
Mm,
think, I mean, they're a surgeon. Like, why wouldn't they know this? But then we help them, and you're their savior. And it's just this like, talk about goosebump moment. Those moments happen every day. And if we don't know about our history, we're not going to know where we're going to go. And if we don't know where we're going to go, when I have grandkids one day, where are they going to work if there's no credit unions around? So
Right, right. Where are they going to work and where are they going to get the support, the financial support, right? Because
absolutely.
there aren't other financial institutions really out there that care about the people that use their services like credit unions do, right? And so the thought of losing them, is really scary. It is really scary because they are the good guys. Like we are the good guys. We're one of those few, and I think you can expand this label out to all cooperatives, but like we are totally dependent, our success is totally dependent on the success of our customers or our members, right? And that's such a unique business model, and the loss of that would mean we're just sort of further, moving towards just, everything is about profit, everything is about numbers. And that is definitely not a good thing for our country. It's definitely not a good thing for consumers themselves. So totally, yes. And also to your point about talent, and like getting people more involved and engaged in their work by teaching them the history of credit unions and getting them to know like how special this sort of trajectory and movement has been over the years. I think that's really important. Like I've said this before on the podcast that one of the reasons why I'm still here today, more than 10 years, 11 years after I first started in the credit union movement was because I learned about the history. When I first started at CUNA, like they sit you down and they show you kind of like a module of like different things that are credit union related so that you kind of understand the context of the movement that you're starting in. And it isn't great, like it was really old school. I mean, it was like high school, like click here and go to the next page and there's like some dorky sort of
Right?
I'm being mean. I feel like I'm being too mean.
No, but A, it's
But it's
better than nothing, right?
it's better. It was better than nothing. It is. And I remember, closing out that session and being like, whoa, like this is really cool. Like I just joined something that is actually making a difference in people's lives. And it does feel like, the institutions, our members at the National Association, the credit unions, like really care about the people that they try to help. And I was totally bought in. And so to your point and to the work that you do, like the more that we can educate employees of credit unions about how special it is that they belong to this movement, like the better we'll have employee retention, engagement, which can only mean great things for the success of the organizations themselves. So it's really valuable work. It really is. I'm sure you get a lot of engagement and sort of like enjoyment out of sort of evangelizing, right?
And I'll say that one fact, right? There's no definitives in life, but one thing for a fact is you can't tell someone how they need to feel.
Mhm.
And yet we've maybe have worked in the credit union for 15, 20, 30, whatever years, and we've got this new employee or even newer employee that's in front of us, and we're questioning why in the world they don't get it. Like, why aren't you so excited about helping people? And you've been here 6 weeks. Like, haven't
Mhm.
you had the Kool-Aid yet? Like, no, you can't tell someone how to feel. They need to experience it. And I think many credit unions do a really great job of sharing the history, the culture of their mission, their vision, their values, why it's important for them to be in the communities at their credit union level.
Mhm.
Some do it really well when they expand outside of their credit union to their state or even nationally. But there's only so much time that you have to onboard a new employee. And that moment, that first week or first day, that moment of truth, as we call it, where someone has a chance to form an opinion, they might leave 3 weeks later, 4 weeks. We don't want them to leave. But
Mhm.
more importantly, we want them to feel the way we do. And so, what can we do in that first month to really answer and ask that question of how do we want an employee to feel walking out for the very first day?
Mm, mm,
Do I care if they know their login? That's important. But I want them to be fired up to come back the next day. I want them fired up to come back the next week because 67% of people, much rather millennials, want to work for a company that has a social responsibility. We do that every day. Literally, we have an opportunity to improve someone's financial life every day, whether you interact with members or not. you have that chance, and sometimes we miss it and we blow the opportunity, but more often than not, we hit it. So I'm evangelizing to you because I get geeked up about this because
Yeah.
our movement, truly, it's that movement. It's special.
Mm.
And just like car dealers or lawyers, there's a few maybe bad apples that spoil them for the rest, but naturally there's this stigma that all car dealers or all lawyers are kind of in that camp. I wish, and I wish that one day it would be true that all credit unions felt passionate about people and profit. It's got to be both, right? We learned that
Yeah.
in DE.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
that chasm as credit unions get bigger and the smaller get smaller, and how do we really help everyone? I struggle. I struggle with, are we focused on growth? Are we focused on really what's most important? Are we focused on our employees and our engagement? Right? It's that simple flywheel, right? If you invest in your culture and your team, whether it's money or time, whichever, you'll have employees that are engaged. And if you have employees that are engaged, well, of course they're going to talk about you, much rather talk about it with other members, and those members are going to use you. If members use you, well, then you become more profitable, and that flywheel kind of continues.
Yeah.
You would think it's common sense, but I guess we have a job at ServiStar because it's not common practice,
Mm.
and we just want to continue to help other credit unions move our movement forward, whether
Yeah.
it's leadership development, sales training, new employee training, whichever. We're a resource to help you live out your mission, which is to improve the financial lives of your members. That's it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I do think that there are a lot of people that understand it, like if you go to GAC, for example, like the Venn diagram of people who go to GAC and people who like really understand or drink the credit union Kool-Aid, it's probably like they overlap pretty well. Um, but there are definitely a lot of credit union people who don't understand it or who don't appreciate how powerful it can be to use that as a tool to improve your organization. And I noticed it a lot with smaller credit unions, and I think there was a reason for it. Like if you're running a smaller credit union, you don't have a lot of resources, you don't have a lot of time. Like if you're like a 3-person credit union or a 10-person credit union, like everyone is just like pulling their hair out every day, just trying to keep the doors open and trying to like serve their members. And so you don't have a lot of time to take a step back and think about the bigger picture, even though we know how valuable that can be when you do that. And so, to your point and to the work that you do and how important it is, like that's the role that I mean, like your role, our role as those, folks who do understand it is to try to like shake them free for at least a couple of moments and say, "Hey, look, like you're doing great work, you're working hard. Don't forget like you're part of this greater movement. Remind your employees that. Tap into the credit union community so that you have, sort of more people to like rely on and use for support. Like I think working to like continue to remind credit unions of that is of the utmost importance. So I applaud you, and I'm so glad that you do that work. And I want to hear more about ServiceStar, but before we get into ServiceStar and all this great stuff that you guys do, I want to go back to the beginning a little bit and hear about your time at Baxter. For a couple of reasons. The first is, Rex Johnson came from Baxter, right? And he's big in our world and sort of like the community development, credit union world, the CDFI world, because he was like the pioneer for, making loans to underserved members, to low credit score borrowers. And then obviously went on to found the University of Lending School, and sort of the rest is history. Everybody knows Rex Johnson as like the guru in that space. And so curious to know if you ever overlapped, if you met him, if he like what is he thought of within Baxter, like what's the Rex Johnson vibe at Baxter these days?
Well, my man, I got a little goosebumpy
Mm.
because I was exercised in 2001 for the very
Okay.
first time, right?
Okay.
So I started at the credit union in 99. So I'll give it some perspective. But my mom worked there.
Mm.
So my mom worked there prior to me. And I remember my first interaction with Rex is when I was 8 and I dunked him at a summer picnic. So that was the very first time
Okay.
I had met Rex,
Mm.
but I didn't know who he was, right? And I was blessed to work at a credit union that is different and was there much longer than I ever expected because I had opportunities to continue to be developed by strong leaders, but also learn while going to work each day.
Mhm.
But I would say Rex is the one person that kind of turned my head around because it was a job at one point. And when I went through the University of London, even though everyone talks about it until you hear Rex, those who were fortunate enough to do that, you don't really feel it. And so, yeah, went to University of London, sent many of people to the University of London, was very fortunate to actually manage a branch in Crystal Lake, which is where Rex lived. He would
Okay.
come in almost weekly, and I'd get to see him and his son Brian quite a bit, and still stay in touch with Lori, his daughter, and
Mhm.
still stay in interaction with the whole family.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think one of the best things that he ever told me was at a Saturday, lines going out the door, and of course it's Rex. So trying to stay focused with this lobby full of people, and Rex is at the end of the line. I go up to him and Brian. I'm like, "Hey Rex, I'm really sorry. Let me see what we can do to make this line faster. So I appreciate your patience here." And he's like, "Taylor, I'd be more concerned if there wasn't a line." And I said, "That's exactly what I needed to hear because
Mm.
it's so true when you look at the optimistic that, and it goes back to his philosophy around lending. It's the person, right? It's people have colorful credit all the time, right? And bad things happen to good people. And when you look at a person, it gave me the ability to flip things around. And I came from a family that didn't have a whole lot of money or didn't know about finances, but I learned from members what not to do and what to do. And I learned from Rex that great things are from people who have colorful credit and so many different stories. And I believe I've ultimately instilled that into the employees that I've had over the years, but the members I've interactions with. Rex is a legend. And so, yeah,
Yes.
so still stay in touch with Ed Swanson, who's there today. And yeah, so awesome. I want to see I'll stop because I could talk about Rex all day.
Do you know if Rex, so something, this is like a blind spot of mine. Do you know if he, the University of Lending School, um, like had other employee types of employees or lenders than credit union people? Like, did he sort of cater to other types of financial institutions, or was he credit union only? I'd be curious to know.
I don't have the immediate answer to it, but if I know Rex well enough, if there was an opportunity, he'd have seized it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was, I'm sure, some times where he probably did
Yeah.
help others, as long as, yeah. His
Yeah. I mean,
philosophy.
yeah, it's not, I don't think it's a black mark or anything. I mean, I'm just curious, like if there are any other industries who like revere Rex Johnson like the credit union industry does. Okay, that's really fascinating. And then like the other big sort of credit union legend that you must have overlapped with was oh God, the guy who won the Herb Wagner Award, Mike Valentine, is that his
Oh,
name?
the guy, Mike Valentine. You're
Yeah,
darn right. Yeah,
yeah,
Mike.
yeah.
Same
Okay.
thing. I started, geez, I think he was there in 94. I started there about 5 years after he took over.
Mhm.
And man, talk about like a genuine dude.
Yeah.
Gets people. And yeah, I still have those conversations with Mike today of, I remember early in my career saying, I want to be the CEO of the credit union one day. And of course, he's like, sure, because that's what he said too. But he did that. And I almost look at it as the Andy Reid model or Bill Belichick model. I can think of 20, maybe 15, 20, just like off the top of my head that are currently CEOs of other credit unions. And I think that's one of Mike's biggest, proudest moments in his entire career is he'll get anything and everything off of his back to you, even if you don't ask for it. And it's just, I think it's the people helping people model. I'm a Zig Ziglar nut, and you'll get everything in life you want if you can just help enough others get what they want. And I
Mm,
was blessed because had I not worked at a credit union that felt that way and was more, and maybe worked at a more transactional credit union, I may not have had the same experience and much rather than had the opportunities to impact and empower so many people since then.
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mike's, yeah, good
Yeah.
guy, awesome
He
guy.
seemed like a great guy. I didn't know a lot about him before Herb Wegner. I was there because we had nominated Terry Robinson, who
Oh
who
yeah.
also won, that night. And you could just kind of tell like what a genuine person Mike was. And I do
Like
think
is. I'm sorry, I gotta cut you off.
is, yeah,
Is. Darn
is.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, sure, absolutely. And like the fact that so many folks that he has led or managed have turned into CEOs of other credit unions. I mean, that's such a testament to his leadership too. So seems like he is a great guy without a
Mhm.
doubt. Okay, so you spent the beginning part of your career in Baxter, and then you said you moved up to the Twin Cities at Affinity Plus and are now in Gainesville. So like, what were some of the things that you did at those credit unions and those different stops, and how did that all lead to where you are now, which is ServiceStar?
So to go back to that comment I mentioned around telling Mike, like I want to be the CEO of a credit union one day. Well, Baxter, very seg focused, very strong growth history, is particularly around segs and the development of Baxter and so many other select employment groups outside of that. I had very little experience in the community.
Mm,
So I did spend about 2 years looking for another credit union that had a heart, had a culture that cared and was community focused.
mm, mhm.
I didn't realize it was going to take me 6 hours north in the middle of winter with an 8 month pregnant wife and a 3 year old to move into an apartment in the middle of November,
Yeah.
but it was darn worth it, right? Dave Larson runs Affinity Plus up there and about $5 or so billion, give or take. And same thing with Mike, you run a credit union about people, trust the results, the rest will go, will come. And Dave is the other side of it where just care about people and the results will follow. And it may not be the best thing financially, but it'll definitely make sense for the member. And
Mm,
so was able to get some experience. Sorry, I feel like I'm brown nosing my former bosses, but no, it's truly people who have cultured and trained and coached my brain. But when you have experience working on the seg side, you have some experience working on the community side, those two experiences, you get a bigger picture. But they were both large credit unions, and I had very little experience on the smaller side.
mhm,
And so I'm a big believer you go to school for 4 years and you pay to learn, but then you go to work the rest of your life to get paid to learn. And so,
mm,
how can you learn on the job? And so, it was at a point where I wanted to get some more experience on the smaller side of the house. And yes, many credit unions are sub 100 million. I went to a $600 million credit union in Gainesville, Florida,
mhm,
in kind
mhm.
of the fall of that COVID year.
Sure.
Young executive team, ambitious, heart of gold, cared, like ambitious, but did it for the right reasons. Getting
Mhm,
ready to go from a state or a federal to state charter, going through a name change. I had never been part of those. And it was like, this is an opportunity, not just like a chance, but an opportunity. So moved my family down to Gainesville, Florida. And then like 2 months later, I got a call from ServiceStar. And it's like, oh no. So it's like bittersweet. I still talk with Tom Bernard, who's at Radiant Credit Union, but was down for 2 months, give or take. And then I had an opportunity, and Tom understood it too, of I get an opportunity to help every credit union instead of helping one credit union. I can
yeah.
still help Radiant, Affinity Plus, and Baxter
Mhm,
because I can still help them through what we're doing at ServiceStar. So I guess if you look at it two ways, if you're not growing and you know it, we all know our own performance better than the next. If you're not growing and you're not challenging yourself, you're probably regressing. So
mm,
stop. Like this is your wake up
right.
call. Do something about it.
Yeah.
And then that's that opportunity to get comfortable being uncomfortable and trying to find new things. So when I'm not familiar with QSOs, I was always a credit union guy. So ServiceStar was founded in the late 90s by Mike Neal, but became a QSO back in 2020 when three credit unions purchased ServiceStar. And it was, wait a second, this QSO thing's kind of intriguing. And I have the opportunity now to work with credit unions all across the country. I can even say, and the Cayman Islands, because there's one
Oh.
credit union in Cayman Islands. So the entire credit union movement down the Cayman Islands. Um, but we get to help credit unions big or small. I think the smallest credit union that we've worked with is 12 million, and the largest is about 25 billion
Mhm,
today.
mhm.
So everywhere in between. So not to go down that path, but I feel awesome because I don't have to balance a drawer anymore. No offense.
Mhm.
I don't have to go through Reg CC and LMNOP and XYZ training, but I
Yeah.
do get to help credit unions live out their mission.
Yeah. Yeah.
So awesome. It
That
really.
is. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is a unique position to be, and I experienced this at CUNA and still in this role where you're not just focused on one credit union. You're focused on the movement as a whole or your individual credit unions that you work with. And that's fun, right? Like you get to see all these different communities. Like I get the benefit of, flying to different parts of the country and, seeing different parts of the US. And that's a really great experience. And kind of it definitely teaches you, a lot about people, different types of people, and it's a lot of fun. I thought I was going to say something else, uh, but I forget, and so I'm going to edit this awkward moment
Hey,
out of the
well,
podcast.
that's the beauty of editing. You
That's
said
right.
something around the 15. Oh, that's episode 15. Yesterday was my birthday too. It was like perfect.
Oh,
I was
happy
like,
birthday!
episode 15, July 15th. Like, boom. Oh,
That's
what a
right.
great
Yeah,
timing.
right.
Um,
Okay, so I know where I was going to go after this. So I want to hear more about what ServiceStar does and, the types of services that it provides. So can you tell me a little bit about like what ServiceStar's mission is and, what are the main services that you help credit unions with?
yes. So I won't have everyone's ear if I don't do this relatively quick. So
Okay.
I'll go over it relatively high level of we help credit unions do three things. We help them truly instill a service culture. And so when you hear service, you might think one thing, but if I asked you to measure it, or if I asked you really, how are you performing against peers? It kind of falls flat in many cases. It's so much more than having warm cookies out on Saturday or knowing the member's name. So, like, what are those behaviors
Mhm,
that are in all of our control? So, we help a credit union really, they already have them baked into their culture. It's just helping address and identify. And so, everything is based off of service. We say that, but let's truly build that foundation. So, one is the service side. Only then can you get to be better with sales. And that's really where many credit unions will come to us saying we want to increase our sales. And we do help them do that from a mission standpoint. So that's, we have service, right? The other thing is sales, but it's all based around your mission. And if your mission is to improve the financial lives of your members, I promise you, I will not tell your or teach your or coach your employees how to sell a credit card or sell an auto loan. I'll never do it.
mhm,
But I will teach them how to have a conversation around how to improve the financial lives of their members
mhm,
because from time to time they might have to talk about a credit card or an auto loan to do that. And
mhm,
so if you can talk about the behaviors versus the results and lead to the behaviors, and you talk about your mission and why it's important to live out the mission from your credit union that might have been chartered by teachers in 1935, it's really easy to have a conversation of I have this opportunity to save you some money, right? So that's the sales element of it. And there's obviously a whole lot of underpinnings behind that. The third is around leadership development. I mentioned I was blessed to be around a credit union that developed and leaned in to challenging employees to think outside the box and almost to a point where train and coach you well enough that you could leave, but treat you well enough that you didn't want to.
mhm,
And I was blessed. I realized quickly that not every credit union felt that way. And so at ServiceStar, it's often focusing on just simple coaching. So we've got a progression tree, and I'm sorry, a progression for really early potential high performers to emerging leaders to established leaders to high performing leaders. So we really build out this track. It's about a 2 to 3 year program to help from all the way from high potential high performers all the way up to how do you get from like the like V position to a C position to reporting to a board and so
yeah.
everywhere in
Yeah.
between. So those are three elements: sales, service, and leadership development.
Okay. Yeah, that's really great. I appreciate you walking us through that. I'm curious to know, you know, we Scott and I, when we do planning sessions, we talk a lot about growth. For a long time with small credit unions, the idea of growth was maybe they felt was antithetical to sort of the credit union philosophy. But as you know, and as we've learned in DE, and as we've just learned, sort of the way that credit unions are successful, growth is important in order to be able to better serve your members. Like I wholeheartedly believe that. And growth these days, in my opinion, is really dependent on putting your best foot forward, like being more out in the community. Like I had a credit union say this to me once, where like back in the day, the way that credit unions first started, people came in and, did their business, did transactions, and it was sort of like a captive audience, right? Because they had to come into the branch. And so you had them there and you could communicate with them. But that's not the way it is anymore for a lot of credit unions, especially as we go into more of a digital age where members can do everything online. So it becomes paramount to go out to where the member is in order to have those conversations, make sure that they understand the other products and services that the credit union has. And so I'm curious to know, like a little tidbit, like what is something that's really effective from like a sales and service standpoint now that credit unions could take away from this? Is there something that like that you think is tried and true or that is really effective as far as, educating, quote unquote, selling, products and services to members and potential members? Like what works?
So the silver bullet, right? That's what we're
Yeah, yeah,
looking
you have
for.
it, right? I mean,
Uh,
this is why you're
we've
here,
got a
right?
revolver, so there's six of them in there. There isn't going to be a silver bullet, I promise you, right? Everything starts with coaching. And I know we have many people that will come to us asking for how do we improve sales? Well, employees don't do what we train them to do. It's what they're coached to do. And guess
Mm,
what? Same with leaders. Leaders don't just come out of training like revived and say, all right, I'm going to change the world. They might for a day or two. So it does start with coaching. And how do we ensure that we inspect what we expect and hold people accountable to the behaviors that live out your mission? There's a huge element there. If you're looking for a quick silver bullet, you're going to see it drop like a silver bullet. I think those who do invest in a strong plan with a carved out strategy that is going to focus on new employees, existing employees, high potentials, and their leadership team, you're in a good spot. Good news is it can be implemented in a 3 or 4 month period in many cases. Um, but if I were to go back to kind of that silver bullet, is what are you really measuring? It's important to look at those lagging indicators, right? If membership growth. I was doing some planning with the credit union in Michigan, and I was with their board, and one of their KPIs was on membership growth, and they didn't hit it for the last year, year and a half, and it was a little bit of a conversation, we'll say when the CEO, his performance is based off of that, the board is pushing for membership growth. And then I pull up a chart around peer group studies of their credit union versus the other peer groups in Michigan as well nationwide. And it was the member engagement and the actual usage that their members had. It's like
mhm,
twice as high as all of their other peer groups. And when I pushed back to the board and to the CEO, I said, I know you're trying to measure growth, and that's important. But you have a bunch of members at these other credit unions that aren't using them. I'd
mm,
rather have one member that uses me for everything than two members who don't. And
mm,
so I think it's important to know that whatever you are measuring, how are you leading to that? And is that really what your behaviors are trying to attribute towards?
mm,
Got a lot of credit unions that we work with that focus, they want to say member service is their primary initiative. And then when I look at a scorecard for a branch manager or a call center manager, and they're getting gold stars because they have the most calls and the least amount of hold time, a least abandoned time. So you're encouraging members to get off the phone quickly and take a lot of calls, not necessarily improve the member's financial life.
mhm,
Well, no, no, yeah, that's what we want. But that's not what your employees are saying. They're getting recognized, rewarded, and merit increases because you've told them to hurry up, get that member off the phone so you can get to the next one.
mm,
Heck, if you
mm,
can't help them, throw them back to the beginning of the queue. Someone else will take care of them, and that call average time will be dropped. And so it is often the intentions are really good on one end, but it's not translating down to the member facing employees. And I think that's important to understand. So, one, are you really trying to be a service oriented? Then prove it.
yeah.
And then the other is ensure what you're asking your team to do is aligned with your mission and your behaviors.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, very well said. Absolutely. I had some planning sessions with some credit unions that, were interested in doing some field of membership expansions. And, we do some research for them on the front end to understand what the growth opportunity is, what the competition looks like in some of these other markets that they're considering. But I always start with, your current membership. What is the current penetration that you have among your current members, or at least your current field of membership? Are you doing everything that you can to, resonate with your current community? Because if you're still lagging and not, sort of fully reaching your potential in your current field of membership and your current community, what gives you the confidence that you're going to be able to do that in these new communities where it's much more difficult to get a foothold, where the cost of acquisition is so much higher. Really like get that foundation down first, with your current members, your current field of membership, and then I think it makes more sense to look outside and look, at other markets.
This
Uh,
actually goes back to, sorry to digress, because I'll name drop Bob McKay, right? He was my COO at Baxter at the time.
mhm,
I was managing that Crystal Lake branch. He's now the
mhm.
CEO at Together Credit Union in St. Louis. But
Okay.
I put together a budget. My very first year out there was no marketing budget set aside from the historical management that was in place. And I was really methodical, planned this out. It was going to cost me about $25,000. And I confidently presented this to Bob, and he looks at me and says, no. It's like, well, why not, Bob? And he says, do something with the members you already have, Taylor. And it was that, like, oh, yeah, you're right. I was so focused on the other side
Mhm.
that I was really forgetting what was. So it is a combination of both. Yes, you can focus on expanding your field of membership, but man, you've done the hard part with your existing members.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's get into the last question here, and this is around the Umbrella Man. Okay, so like
Yeah.
Taylor, you have really made a name for yourself, especially over the last, I would say, what, about 12 months, because of, your ownership now, I believe is the appropriate way to say it, of this Umbrella Man, which is, one of the symbols representing the credit union movement. My first exposure to it is when I first started at CUNA, my cubicle was absolutely bare, and it was bare for a couple of months because I'm kind of a dude, and like I'm just like I show up to work, do my work, and then, I'm not like decorating it like a college dorm room, right? And so there, I had a coworker there, Angela Prestel, and she like took it upon herself to decorate my my cubicle with credit union stuff. And one of the things that she gave me was this little piggy bank that had the Umbrella Man on it, just like the one that's on your. Wait, do you have? That's it. That is it. Oh my God, you
Got two
have
of
it.
them.
Okay, so that was what she gave me. It was sitting on the shelf in my cubicle for a long time. Uh, and so now you have ownership rights to this logo, right? Is that right? Is that
No,
fair?
not
Anyway, well, let me stop
technically not.
talking. Let me stop talking and have you share kind of what you've done with this logo and where credit unions can find it and all that great stuff.
All right, that's perfect. Segue to a first. So wow, we can go down. There's no easier way to get me distracted from my real job than to talk about the Umbrella Man. So for those that aren't aware, this weird looking Umbrella Man logo. So we talked to Roy earlier in this conversation. Roy Bergegren was kind of that early pioneer in the credit union movement. Back in 1923, he was really challenged because a lot of these associations and a lot of credit unions were coming to him saying, hey, no one in the world knows what a credit union is. Like, we need to really find. And so Roy reaches out to a good buddy of his who's a cartoonist in the Boston Herald. And this cartoonist was really commissioned by Roy to draw some type of symbol that Roy could use and give to credit unions throughout the country to use as that universal symbol. Think of like the Morton Salt Girl, right? It's that same
Yeah,
era where
yeah.
everyone can get behind this symbol. Well, that I was aware of just on some of my history. I was developing this PhD program to present to the crashers for the very first time about 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And so I went down there. I made a white sport coat with this Umbrella Man logo that I ironed on with my Cricut, and like all I was super excited because I thought I'd be so cool walking around GAC, 6,000 people. This is the credit union movement. No way. I'd say out of 1,000 people, like five knew what it was. This
Mhm.
was weird, but those five were uber enthusiasts. Like, where'd you get that? I want that. And one of them even offered me $500 for my jacket. Wow.
Whoa,
In my
really?
mind, yes. And in my mind, it was, wait a second. We've got 995 people here that have no idea what in the world this is. These other five are like hyper enthusiasts.
Mhm,
I want to be around hyper enthusiasts.
mhm.
And if we can just get like two or three from that other camp who don't know what this is to feel that power, maybe we got something. So ultimately, if a YouTuber can do it, I feel I can too. And I went to Upwork, and I think I had someone there vector the logo. It's public domain. So to answer the question, it's not mine by any
Oh, it
stretch.
is.
I'll
Oh,
if you email me, I'll send you all of the files that I have on it. I want you to. I want to applaud someone for the first time they put this in their statement. But
yeah, yeah.
this logo, I feel that, hey, there's a lot of print on demand companies. I had a real good conversation with my board and my board chair and said, hey, we're going to create this merch store, but I don't want us to make any money off of it
Mm,
because A, I don't want to feel icky about it. And two, I actually don't think it's our logo in a sense, right? So board was super supportive with that, thankfully. And we give all the profits back to the Credit Union Museum. And so there's not $1 uh, that we make on it. Ironically, we've helped out others. Linda White at CULA, her and I are talking about something for their women's leadership conference that's this fall. Hint,
yeah,
it's a surprise for those who haven't. So shh, I didn't say that yet.
yeah. I'll
Uh,
be there in September in Savannah.
yes.
Yeah,
So
I'll be
hey,
there.
there you go.
Okay.
Um, ultimately, we've got over $150,000 in sales on this website for people who have purchased Umbrella Man swag. And truly, the best part about it is I'm not 5 out of 1,000 people anymore at a conference. I walk up to a conference and someone's got a bag. I immediately know they're like enthusiasts like
Mm,
me.
yeah,
If
yeah, yeah.
they don't, they're asking about it. Maybe there's 10 out of 1,000 or 15 out of 1,000. But I automatically know that, Tom, if you're wearing an Umbrella Man shirt, I can like go over and introduce myself and feel super comfortable and confident that you get it.
Yep. Yeah. Totally.
And it's just
Absolutely.
been so refreshing and rewarding to see others at conferences lean in and embrace it. And I think the coolest like story to me was one order that came through on the website was from a gentleman named I think it was Mark Stern. I couldn't I so, Andrew Stern
Okay.
from the Massachusetts area. And knowing Joe Stern was the one who created it, I just
Mhm,
emailed the person back because, of course, Andrew Stern wasn't on LinkedIn for the credit union.
mhm.
And I said, Andrew, hey, out of curiosity, is there any association with you and Joe Stern? And he's like, yes, that's my grandpa. I'm actually buying a shirt for my dad for his birthday. I was like, oh my, we
Wow.
have crossed the threshold. So ultimately, we don't make any money off of it, but that's my give back to the entire movement because I feel that if we can get enough people together, collaborating amongst cooperatives and leaning into our movement, we're going to be here for a while and do it in a fun way. So that's some of the little bit of the backstory history. I will one go on record and say, please, I do have it available as like a digital download
Mm,
on that umbrellaman.org website. But
mhm,
if you want to email me, I'll be happy to send it to you. The other is we have that credit union PhD workshop. We do it virtually now every month. Any credit union under $50 million, I have a coupon code. I give it away for free because I
mm,
don't want money to be the primary reason people can't get engaged. I
mhm.
also, I want to spread our word around people helping people, and that's our way of doing it. So,
Well, that is really cool. And, like I've seen it so many times now. I was gifted a jacket at GAC this year, and I felt very honored. I should have worn it, although it's really hot in Madison today, so it wasn't. It's like more of a fall jacket. But so remind me. So the name of the website is umbrellaman.org. Is that right?
yes,
Okay.
umbrellaman.org.
Okay. And it's really cool. I did not know that all proceeds go to the Credit Union Museum. That is really cool. Very,
Which is
very.
the very first credit union in the United States that opened in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yes, yes, that's right. Very cool. Man, that's an awesome connection. Okay, well, yeah, I think that's it. Oh, can you tell me a little bit? All right, let me back up. Can you also just tell me a little bit about that PhD program? Because I know that's something that I think would be really valuable to credit unions and kind of how credit unions can find more information about it?
Yes. So ServiStar Consulting, SERVI
Hmm.
Star
Hmm.
Consulting. Maybe you'll put that in the show notes. We
Hmm.
have a new employee onboarding program that does include that, but we also host that workshop every month. It's a 90-minute workshop, and it's great because we get credit unions from all across the country, and it's the nice little workshop that we just really talk about it for about an hour, hour and a half. That said, I want to give you a promo code of some sort. So
Yes, and
we'll
we'll put this in the post and in the show notes. Yeah, for sure.
we'll have a free coupon code for you to participate and send it to whomever you want at your credit union. We'd love to have you. One, to lean in and just experience a little bit more around the credit union movement.
Mhm.
But yeah, ServiceStar Consulting, we do a lot of different live workshops throughout the year and month on site as well. And we want to help in any way. So umbrellaman.org or ServiceStar Consulting, you can reach us. And of course, find me on LinkedIn, and any way I can do to help move the movement forward and make your jobs easier, I want to.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Taylor. Taylor Murray, President and CEO of ServiceStar Consulting, and purveyor of the of the umbrella man across the credit union movement across the country. Thank you so much for joining the Credit Union Nation podcast. It was an awesome conversation. We hope you'll come back for future episodes.
Absolutely. Anytime. My pleasure.